Hi, my name is Rick Scarborough, and this is Recover America. We bring these short videos to you from time to time, and in this case, we're talking to a dear friend, Jonathan Saenz. I jokingly say we went to high school together. If you look at his face and see that he's probably 25 years younger than I am, we went to the same high school, just different decades. Jonathan, it's so good to have you here today.
Well, it's great to be with you, Pastor Scarborough, and spend time. It's a joy and a pleasure to see the work you're doing and to spend some time sharing with folks what the latest is on some of the things we care about.
Jonathan Saenz has, for the last 10 years, been the executive director of the most effective pro-life, pro-family advocacy organization in Texas, Texas Values. They're associated with Focus on the Family in a loose affiliation. But Jonathan, in his tenure, has built an incredibly effective staff. One member in particular that I saw demonstrate her effectiveness before the State Board of Education. Talk about this young woman that you've hired and put in charge of legislative issues, and particularly today at the State Board of Education.
Well, one thing that I learned a long time ago is government belongs to those who show up. So it's important to show up when elected bodies meet and discuss different things. And one of the meetings that's taking place right now is the State Board of Education, which is an elected body of 15 different members, different geographic parts of the state. And they make decisions about what students across the state learn in 1,200 school districts, close to 6 million children. And one of the persons for our team that does it the best, that represents our values, is Mary Elizabeth Castle. She has her law degree from Texas Tech Law School. I was mentioning to you, her father is a longtime pastor from Wichita Falls. She's about as good as they get. And it's important because they only give you a couple of minutes.
Yes.
You got to really get your message across in a very succinct way, in a very targeted way, and you got to do it to make sure that they know you stand behind what you believe in.
Folks, I was there for the first 5 hours of the meeting. Had to leave and come back for a speed engagement here at the wonderful resort, Barton Creek Resort, where we've got 200 pastors and wives that were teaching and educating on the issues. So I had to leave a little early, but probably saw 30 people give a 2 to 3 minute report. No one was more effective. And the thing that impressed me, Jonathan, is she had all the answers. They were quizzing, throwing things back at her, but she was prepared.
Well, it's important to be prepared. And look, I've been doing this work now for 10 years. We're celebrating 10 years of Texas Values. But before that, I did a lot of work at the State Board of Education. So when we bring people onto our team, it's important to be professional. And you got to know what you're talking about, because when you go in front of that group of 15 members of the elected State Board of Education, usually they're going to be prepared. And we're talking about issues related. One of the things today is whether or not we're still going to teach kids about the national motto, "In God We Trust." Whether we're going to continue to talk about our fundamental principles, whether or not we're still going to teach kids what the First Amendment of the Constitution means. And the reason those things are close to being on the chopping block is because there is an attack and an effort, a woke takeover, attempt to take over our public schools. And if we don't do something about it, if we don't speak against it, our elected body, our elected representatives will think that these issues don't matter anymore, and they always matter.
And I'll tell you something, folks, when they look to see if there's anybody showing up, that's how they decide just how aggressive they'll be. Today, people showed up, but Jonathan will tell you, he's here in the capital city. Far too often at these committee hearings, we just don't show up.
No, that's true, and it's frustrating. That's why our office is in Austin. We realize to be in a position to make a difference, the closer you are with proximity. And our office is literally across the street from the Texas Capitol, but we have supporters in all 254 counties. You know how this state is. You've got people all across the state, 1,200 school districts. It's going to be very difficult, but a lot of things get centralized into what happens in the state government. So if you can have influence at the state capitol, you spend time with us there at the state capitol, you know how much of a difference you can make in just one day that you spend there.
Yeah, I got away from that, Jonathan. I went off to Washington, D.C., and then we just cranked up Recover America. And so today I was made freshly aware of how important it is, not just that I show up, but so many of these younger activists who know me get empowered by my coming. I was just deeply moved by how many people said, "Thank you, Pastor Scarborough." So to you and those that you've influenced, I want you to know I'm here to support, to hold your arms up. I want you to tell the folks a little bit about your background. I know you're an attorney.
Yep.
Talk about how you got to where you are.
Well, and real quick too, if people want to learn about our work, txvalues.org is the website. So I'm a 5th generation Texan, grew up in Houston, as you mentioned,
Galena Park.
Yeah, product of Galena Park High School. And so, but I went on to University of Texas for undergrad and then came back to Houston for law school. While I was at the university as a student at the law school, I was leading a pro-life group. And there was an attack on our group. They weren't treating us fairly. We had to go to court to defend our constitutional free speech rights to have events on campus just like the pro-abortion groups. Thankfully, we're successful, but I knew then things got solidified. I wanted to do the work to make sure that Christian values were being represented. To your point, because a lot of times if people don't say something, Proverbs 18:17 is one of my favorite verses. He who presents his case first seems right until someone steps forth to challenge him. So that is what I try to do every day. And I've been blessed to work on court cases at the U.S. Supreme Court, at the in state court, but just about every pro-life and religious liberty law that's been passed in the past decade or so, myself and our team have been a part of that.
I hope you folks will realize too, Jonathan has a law degree. He could be making 10 times the income with 10 times less problems, but he chose a profession where he's literally giving his life and his education to extend and glorify God and to preserve our values. He's the right man for the job. I have incredible respect for Jonathan, but I want you to go to that website and recognize they can't do what they're doing without support. And it takes a lot of money to operate here in Washington, D.C. Give your website again. I think it's tx.org.
txvalues.org.
Okay.
So just the abbreviation of the state, txvalues.org.
Go there and make a contribution. And if you have any left over, help us in Recover America too. Jonathan, pleasure to have you. Thank you for stopping by.
Well, it's been my honor, and it's always good to spend time with you. It's always good to see a fellow from the east side of Houston, Galena Park. But I tell you, those values that were instilled so early on continue to live on. And so I'm grateful that you continue to see the value in your presence and getting involved, and God bless you in all that you do.
Well, we've been talking to Jonathan Saenz, the president, or I should say the executive director of Texas Values. My name is Rick Scarborough. We've been Recovering America. Go to our website, recoveramerica.com. Once again, recoveramerica.com. God bless you. I trust this finds you happy and healthy, and may you prosper always in the Lord.